Remember this. We of the Endless are the servants of the living. We are not their masters. We exist because they know, deep in their hearts, that we exist. When the last living thing has left this universe, then our task will be done, and we do not manipulate them. If anything, they manipulate us. We are their toys, their dolls, if you will. And you, and Despair, and even poor Delirium should remember that. Hello, and welcome back to the Green Team Legendarium. Welcome back to the Sandman series, where we'll be covering Volume 2 of the series. That is issues 9 to 16. Full spoilers ahead. Today, I am joined by Befuddled Panda.
Hello.
Starcast.
Hi.
And Mr. Anderson.
Hello.
We will be covering these issues one by one with final thoughts at the end. Does that sound good to everybody?
Sure.
Excellent.
Perfect.
Issue number 1. Tales in the Sand. We hear the tale of Morpheus and Nada and how she came to be in hell. So, initial thoughts, guys. Mr. Anderson, what do you think about the love story, the beautiful love story between Morpheus and Nada in this?
It was fine. Once we saw her in the last season, like in hell forever, I expected, I don't know, a bit more.
Expected more?
Yeah. I mean, again, this wasn't bad. It was just like, oh, that was it.
Well, I liked the background story, but I expected it to have more of an impact on the story itself, to play more in the forefront.
Yeah, it's just a prologue, right? Like this issue is just the prologue, and personally, I don't think that's what actually happened.
Oh, but a question I had, and now that was answered because I pages. I got through the pages just now again. So Nada is a vortex, if I understand correctly, or
Oh.
yes, because that was my question when I a later chapter in the book, and now I saw that she also has the heart like Rose.
Interesting.
As I just looked through the pages again, I just saw that. So that answers some of my questions I had.
So you think that Nada, well, this is kind of like going through all of the volumes into the issues into the end. But never mind. You can cut this part.
I think we can reference the revelation that Nada was a gambit done by Desire. I think it would make most sense to discuss it now. I think. I don't know. Yeah, I definitely the first time I read the series, I was like, okay, Nada must have done something wrong, right? But she really doesn't.
No.
At least in this version of the story.
Yeah, definitely. In this version. And the women tell a different version, and the issue is very explicit about that. This is a story that's been passed down by the men of their tribe. So since Nada was their leader, it would make sense if they somehow sanitized her role a bit. But even so, it's hard to get on Dream's side if we believe most of this, at least, right? He seems like really capricious and cruel to condemn someone to hell for this.
Right. Which is why I'm just like, it doesn't quite jive with like the picture of Dream that I've seen. But this did happen like a long, long time ago. So it could be that this was what he was like before. And then, over time, he like mellowed out and became more compassionate to humans. But I don't know, there's just something about the story that I'm like, I don't think this is really exactly how it happened. There's more.
And I want to say to that, and I don't want to get too far in the issues already, but later in the book, it's also referenced that before he was prisoned, he wouldn't have helped one person in specific.
Right.
Yes, so I think it's also to show that he has changed.
Yeah, his imprisonment has certainly had an enormous impact on his character, and we're just starting to see the implications of what that might mean.
We definitely are seeing him change, which is kind of cool because you figure he's supposed to be this endless, this more than a god thing. So maybe that's the point of the story. It just didn't seem eternal damnation worthy.
Yeah, he would have been really like fickle.
Yeah, and this might also reflect the changing nature of stories for humans, right? Maybe this was true to dream and human storytelling back when we were more tribal. But maybe with our changed stories and our changed cultural values, this also has an impact on him. Because almost invariably, I think, old religions have very cruel gods. And
Yeah.
their stories are like bleak, heartless, because
hmm
life was just more cruel in a lot of ways, right? Like you could scrape your shin on something and die from a disease a week later.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. We also get sort of introduced here to the concept of like the endless having rules that they need to follow and things going really poorly if they don't follow those rules.
I don't remember. Are these rules just among the endless, or was there ever brought up like did someone give them these rules, or are they just for their own sanity kind of create them?
It's unclear.
Gotcha.
It's a good question to ask. Like, where do these rules come from? Like, are they dictated by someone? Or are they just kind of like underlying metaphysical reality? I don't know. I don't know. I have no clue. But I think it's fun to think about.
I would guess it's rules that they took upon themselves. Like again, later in the book, Dream references that there are specific rules, and when he talks about Quap and who was the other one? Quap and
Those two demons, or sorry,
yeah,
demonic dreams.
yes, those two demonic dreams. Now I have to find it.
Like blob or something.
A blab, yeah.
Brute and glob, they are in English.
He said they know my rules. My rules. Wait, yeah. I can't translate it further because it's in German, but he said specifically my rules. So I'm guessing it's that he made them.
Well, I think it's he in his kingdom, like his realm, he makes the rules for his realm. But then there are larger rules like across realms, across the endless. So
Okay.
there's different levels.
By the way, the line is, they know the law, my law, and they have wantonly defied it. Did they think they could hide from it? Yeah, and also, how does he come up with his own laws?
I mean, like, how does any monarch come up with laws? Sometimes it's like for the collective good, and sometimes it's they think they know best.
And sometimes it's for their own good, entirely
Yeah.
selfish. Yeah. I will say, I really like the framing of this story. Gaiman likes to sample things from different cultures, and this would definitely seem odd for anybody in modern Western society, I think, right? Like, I don't think many fathers are taking their sons out and circumcising them and then telling them a story now that they're a
No.
man, right?
Really? That didn't happen to you?
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe you had a weird upbringing, Mr. Henderson. But no, it didn't happen to me. It was just an uncomfortable car ride. All right. Do we have any other thoughts on this one before we move on?
No, we can move on.
Okay. The Doll's House, issue number 10. Desire hatches a plan with Despair to make her brother even more unhappy and morose. Rose Walker meets her grandmother Unity and begins to have strange dreams and encounters.
So I was happily surprised when we saw Unity again, because she's from book one, from was it prologue or chapter one? But where we saw the what's happened after Dream got captured.
I think it was issue number 1.
Yeah, so I was happy to see her again.
I thought that was going to be like a one-off thing too, but yeah, she's back.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of
And
seeds that bear fruit are unexpected.
and why she isn't a lot in this book, I liked her part in it. I really liked it, and I have some questions about her and how she knew some of the things she knows. So I didn't know if I like how does she know that she would have been the vortex, or how does she know how to transfer it from one person to the other? Like do wonder why she knows those things. Like she does know more than Dream himself.
I think it is because she just kind of has an intuitive understanding because she's spent essentially her entire life dreaming, right? So I think a lot of it is just her knowing this intuitively and then finally expressing it, finding it like an outlet for it, and it just happened to be at the right time, sort of. Like I don't think this is something that she planned out at all.
You don't think that there's somebody else who informed her of everything? Like,
Definitely could have been.
It's just very weird that she gave the ring to her granddaughter, and oh my, exactly that ring is important later in the story to transfer the heart from her to her grandma. Like, what a coincidence.
I would say that if anybody told her anything, it was probably the fates, the three fates that
That makes
come
sense.
to Rose.
Hmm.
Of course, just because I have to, right? Like Rose, her mother, and her grandmother mirror the three faces, the three faces of Eve. Look at that.
yeah.
Cool. I didn't notice that.
Yeah. I mean, her mother doesn't really have much of an impact on the story at all, but yeah,
Yes.
they're the maiden, mother, and crone right there.
Mhm.
Well, the mother is more like a passive impact, right? Because at the end of this volume, there's the question posed like, who is Miranda's father? Like, who impregnated Unity? And therefore, like, who is Rose's grandfather?
Mm.
It's definitely one of the endless. I think it's implied that it's Desire, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was like one of the ones that we've already seen or like Destiny or something. I don't know.
Destiny, I'll just say, he would be a weird guy to sleep with.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Okay. Like I have questions about that. About
I don't think that's something we need to dwell on or go into great detail about.
You'll see Destiny. I think you'll see what I'm talking about.
no, but also about Dream, and that's again in the later issue. I'm gonna bring it up then again. But I have questions about how a certain person got impregnated by Dream when she was already impregnated.
Yeah, she wasn't impregnated twice. That wasn't the meaning of it. But yeah, we'll talk about it once we get there. Yeah. So this is the issue that the Corinthian is introduced. And what a freaky man.
But I also think it's probably so far my favorite storyline, the Corinther, because there were a lot of things I was like really happy to see in that plot line in terms of social issues which were shown. I guess I was like happy. Oh, see there, it's really terrible, but that really happened. Yay! Like it's shown. Oh. And we have to talk about the page where Rose fell asleep and one has to rotate the book so one can read further.
Isn't that cool?
Yes.
Yeah, there was a lot of creativity, I guess, and play in the way that the panels are laid out. Made it more interactive.
I remember that being kind of annoying because I was reading it digitally and trying to turn my tablet with it auto rotating was slightly annoying. But
That does sound awful. As I said before, I read with this enormous book. So
Oh, yeah.
turning this is kind of a hassle as well. But yeah, whoever came up with that idea, it really felt like they were using the medium to its fullest extent.
Yeah, and one doesn't have to forget. In the beginning, it was published in issues, so it would be very easy to just flip it.
I also particularly like this spot in this where the three fates come to Rose and they say, "Okay, you can ask us 3 questions now." And she wastes every one of them. And as she wastes them, the fate is like, "Well, you made a mistake there. I could have told you about this thing that you should watch out for, but you're gonna have to do without it now."
Yeah.
And that also felt like very much like a fable to me, right? Like if you read the Brothers Grimm, like it's just chock full of people ignoring advice.
Yeah, they look very different, or at least I don't remember the names anymore. But the youngest one looks very different here than in the first issue. I noticed.
I mean, they can take on like whatever shape they really want, right?
I just wondered if it's because the fashion trends are also changing, and because she's the youngest and is the most likely to go with the trends, and that's why she changes so often.
I think that's correct. I think they, like Morpheus, very much change with the times, especially their appearance. Also, just note that they said to Rose that she should feel lucky that they're not in their kindly ones guise. So that's just a little seed for the future.
Okay.
The kindly ones, the Furies, as they are otherwise called, which are, of course, ancient Greek deities. Chthonic is the word. So they're not the Olympians. They are gods of the earth, basically.
Did you notice that the inking of the text? So in like pretty much all the text, it's all uppercase, but then when it's Morpheus speaking, it's not all uppercase, and like the font is different. I mean, aside from like, yes, he speaks in black bubbles, so his like text really stands out, but just like the font is different, the lettering is different, and I think he's the only one that has that.
I think don't all the Endless have their own kind of font?
Oh, do they? I didn't really notice the.
Desire does, and Despair does as well, I think.
Mm.
One of them has a very distinctive style, I'll say.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Okay, yeah.
But in general, it changes a lot the fonts. Some of them not as nice to read.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like I think everyone thinks about the same one, the one from one of the sisters.
Like Zelda, or
Oh,
maybe Chantel.
yeah.
It was so bad
Yep.
to read. I just found it interesting that shows that when everyone is awake, that they all have the same font, and when they go to dream, and they
Mm.
are not per se the rulers, but they have more power
Mm-hmm.
in there. That they are and that they also have their own font.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did you guys notice? I think is it Desire that's like in the window in the dollhouse?
I thought it was a dream.
I think it's Dream.
Is that
But
Dream?
it does look like Desire at first, but it zooms in on whoever it is, and I think it does end up being Dream.
Oh, because the little smile and the face, like it didn't really look like Dream. Dream is usually more serious.
Like there's the star in the eye as well, and like when it's really zoomed in, that looks kind of like him to me, right?
Oh, okay, I see. Yes, I turned the page. Okay, you're right. You're right.
Oh yeah.
I was gonna say I thought I remember the star in the eye, but I couldn't find I'm having
The
trouble
page.
Okay,
finding
yeah,
it.
it is Dream in the house.
We get to move on to issue number 11.
Yep.
Excellent. Moving in, issue number 11. Rose meets her strange new housemates as she begins her search for her brother Jed. Turns out Jed is locked in a basement, having all sorts of pleasant dreams. Morpheus is fairly upset when he finds out. I really like how Jed's dreams are the most paint by numbers, awkward, and like stilted encounters possible. The characters talk in such an incredibly simplistic way.
Spooky bird. It's not spooky. It's not spooky.
Being
It's
like,
spooky.
We are flying.
Yeah.
I cannot fly when I am awake.
I cannot fly when I'm. Yeah, exactly. Thank you for helping me to save the world from the toad dancers of Pluto, Jed. When I have my baby, you will have a new friend to play with. I wonder what do these buttons do? Oh, you are so cute. You must play with me. This kid has issues.
Well, it also reflects that this is a child.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And he's been just like stuck in this basement living through hell for
Yeah.
years at this point. So like it makes sense that he wants a simplistic escape.
Mhm.
Also, I really like the roommates. Besides Ken, he can go F himself. But all the others are really nice. But at first I thought so. Oh god, they're really creepy. I hope this won't turn into a slasher kind of movie
Mhm.
style. Because in the last episode we talked about how each issue was inspired by horror tropes.
Mm.
So I hope that this wouldn't happen, and it didn't happen. So yay!
This is just what it feels like to rent in a new place. I think everyone's had this experience when they move out of a home.
I mean, the sisters that are not actually sisters, like they're just creepy.
A little.
They're nice, but creepy.
They have the largest collection of stuffed spiders on the eastern seaboard.
Like, why?
Everyone needs a
Yeah,
hobby.
and how do you even stuff a spider?
I don't want to think about it. Okay, just no.
If there's way, there's a possibility.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you just can't escape spiders.
No. We're introduced to a new Raven, Matthew.
Honestly, I waited the whole chapter for someone just to try and pet the crow because he's always there, and like if he's so nice, you can pet him.
I mean, he might let you. Matthew seems like a pretty chill guy, right?
Yeah.
As far as ravens go, yeah.
I mean, okay, I love ravens, so Morpheus having a raven is excellent.
I feel like the purpose of Matthew is more for the reader and not really like for anything else in the story. It's just like a way for information to be conveyed.
Yes. I mean, like he has some narrative purpose, but like absolutely. He's like, oh, he's like hopping around. I'm new at this, boss. Can you explain to me what a dream vortex is?
I already talked a bit about the roommates, but Hall is. I really liked Hall also.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. He's very dramatic.
yeah, but I'm even surprised that Neil Gaiman managed to get him
A drag
in
queen.
the book. Yeah, get him in the book. Like
As far as I know, it was difficult.
I imagine. I can very imagine.
Was Sandman like an instant success? For some reason, I thought it took a few issues for it to really kind of take off. I'm wondering if people just didn't know, like if he was still kind of flying under the radar now, and the higher ups weren't really paying attention to it.
Yeah, this was the story that got Neil Gaiman famous. So like, it definitely wasn't because he was such a high fantasy author that he could demand these things. I think it's a combination of Vertigo being a more liberal publisher than most, and to be clear, I don't have any comics experience in like I have no idea what publishing is like there, but I would suspect that the Vertigo was more liberal, and the issues were selling well enough that they didn't want to make a hassle of it, and the comics. I don't know if the Comics Code Authority was still even a factor here. Maybe they were. I know they were for Swamp Thing earlier, but for some reason, I guess they would just be comfortable just ignoring those people. Which good, yeah. Screw people who tried to regulate comics along these areas.
Yeah, I think like comics has just been historically a bit more like they've been able to be a bit more progressive just because of the form it's in, and it's seen as more niche than in mainstream media.
Mm-hmm. No, but I think this issue is probably also my favorite in the book, mainly because there's just so many things I didn't expect that would be in here. Like the social issues, like there isn't just one in here. Like there are multiple in there. At first, the casual depiction of drag, then the social issues about that a woman get attacked in the dark, which was not very well known in the 80s, I would say, and a bit glossed over. So head, what's the word? Head down for Gaiman.
Oh, you're tipping your hat?
Yes, we're tipping my hat. And then also that with with Jed, and that the adoption system has failed him massively.
Mm.
And then also even the serial killer Corintha has in some ways a lot of social issues behind them,
Mhm.
because I noticed that he only targets guys, and in the second issue we saw him talk with his in quotes first victim, and the victim said, "I was okay with the not safe for work stuff, but not with everything else." So that implied to me, oh, he targets gay guys or bisexual guys in general, because it's easier for them to get kidnapped and killed by him. And it reminded me of some cases in the real world where that also happened.
Yeah, and I think the Corinthian is specifically targeting like male prostitutes. That's the impression I got from that panel.
Mm.
And of course, like the killing of prostitutes is like historically, like that's what serial killers tend to gravitate towards, because like their work often tends to be sexual and it's just easier, right? Like you can get them people that you don't know into a secluded place, and these people are not generally working within the bounds of the law, so they don't have a comfortable relationship with the police.
And they're probably not likely to be missed.
Yeah. Like a huge confluence of factors that makes these people very vulnerable in society. And it's horrible, and it is nice that Gaiman illustrates that in these issues. I find it fun. His name's Gilbert, I think, the guy who's
Gilbert.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just wanted to talk about him also because we haven't talked about him.
He's almost the stereotypical neckbeard.
Except he doesn't have a beard.
Yeah, he has a mustache, right? But he like swashbuckles out of the alleyway. He's kind of overweight. It's like, oh, hello, miss. I'm here to protect you from these ruffians. I think he literally tips his hat at her.
Yes, he does.
Yes, he is excellent. I love Gilbert.
Rose asks him, "Gilbert, is that your first name or your last name?" And he goes, "Indubitably."
Indubitably. In the Netflix adaptation, the actor playing him is Stephen Fry, and that was perfect.
I haven't seen those episodes yet, but I'm so excited.
Me neither.
We've started watching the show, and I think we're currently halfway through.
Okay.
So there's like stuff that from volume 2 is already in the first season that, like, when I first started watching it, I hadn't read the second volume yet, and I was like, what is this? Where are these people coming from? Like Corinthian is one of them. And he is well done in the show, I think.
Oh man, I have thoughts there.
We can talk about it later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. What I also found interesting in those first issues was that Dream is more of a side character in those,
Mm-hmm.
and only over time he gets more important.
Yeah, this will happen a lot. And honestly, I find the stories where Dream is a side character generally the more interesting.
Yes.
Are we good to move on?
I think this issue just like ends very dramatically, where Dream's like, "Oh, brute and glob," or whatever.
Brute strength and base cunning. They have broken my laws, and now it's my turn.
Yeah. And then he puts on his helmet and his like fire kimono.
It's so goofy. But fun.
Dream's got a little flair.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I'm not making fun of this. I genuinely love the ending of this. It's just he's so extra. He's so
He
extra.
is extra. Okay, we can move on.
All right. Playing House, issue number 12. Morpheus frees Jed, also unleashing a trapped woman named Lyta from Jed's mind, promising to come back to claim her child. The Corinthian picks up Jed on his way to a convention.
Okay, so Star, your question before was like, how is this woman, like, she was pregnant when she went into this dream world, and how can she be like impregnated again by Dream? It's not that she was impregnated by Dream, it's just that she spent so much time in this dream world that I guess the child probably maybe like absorbed or like is just very much influenced by the dream world. And so dream is like your child is mine. Probably because like after this child is born, they may have some sort of supernatural power or like they won't be completely human, like to adjust to the human world. That's my guess. That's how I read it.
Okay.
They're like tied to dreams now.
Yeah.
Yes. And I had another question. Was the Sandman not a reference to a character in DC or Marvel or I don't know?
DC. Yes.
DC.
Yes. He was a comic character, I think, and he was fairly minor, but yeah. Yes.
And I think in the first book there was the other Sandman or not?
It was John Constantine, right?
John D was
Oh, John D.
Yeah. He wasn't the Sandman. I don't think he was. I don't remember. Dr. Destiny. That's what his name was. And then the first Sandman, first in quotes, the first Sandman is also referenced in the first issue where they're talking about the effects of dream being locked away. There's this man who kills people and leaves sand on their eyes.
Oh yeah,
That's
yeah,
the
yeah,
one
yeah.
Yeah.
That's the one I mean.
But this guy is not that guy, I don't think.
No.
This guy was like an actual superhero.
No, I just wondered because the two of them, the demons, mention him. That's why I asked.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, they're trying to set him up as a successor to Morpheus, basically, and steal his power.
Well, they said his name. The first guy that they tried.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
he
forget.
died or he killed himself.
He killed himself.
Yeah.
Like he couldn't take it.
So they took a guy who was already dead instead,
Yeah, Mr. Sanford was the name.
and his pregnant wife. Oh man.
They were they were like, this guy is such a bozo. I'm like, is that how he was when he was alive, or is this just like a result of him being a ghost and not quite all there? I don't know. Because I feel like Lita, I guess Hippolyta. So
Yeah, I think
that's
it's
her full
Lida.
name. Lita. I feel like she wouldn't be with a bozo, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think he's and well, her mind is also influenced by the dream as well, right? Like
That's
she
true.
isn't able to remember what came before. Really, she
Yeah.
thinks they've always.
I feel really bad for her. Like, all she wanted was for her child to have a father and for her to be with her husband. And now she's lost. Well, she will lose her child, in a sense. Stream's gonna claim it. And her husband went bye-bye. And she spent like 2 years being pregnant. 2.5 years being pregnant.
Imagine that. I mean, like some people enjoy being pregnant, but I don't think you would enjoy it for 2 years.
No.
No, I do wonder if we will see more of her because I liked what we saw of her character because I do like the trope of characters who don't make the best decisions because of grief and now they have to deal with it. And I do want to see more of her and how going forward she acts and if she makes any plans about protecting her son or daughter or child in general.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think this is the last we've seen of her. I think we'll see her again.
I think that's a safe bet. Also, poor Jed. He escapes his hell only to run into the Corinthian, who promptly stuffs him in his backseat or in his trunk.
Yeah.
F in the chat for chat.
All right, we good to move on?
Yep.
Okay. Men of Good Fortune, issue number 13. Morpheus makes a friend. It just takes him 600 years to do.
In the beginning, I was a bit confused about this chapter when it started because I was like, "Hey, Chad got just kidnapped. I would like what happens next." But then as I read it more, I was like, "Oh, I like this," and I thought at first, how is this relevant to the story? And by the end of the issue, I was like, I don't care that that this isn't relevant to the story. I just like the friendship.
Yeah, it's like if I were reading this series as it was coming out, like issue by issue, I would have been so frustrated. Like you just left us on a cliffhanger and now you're giving me this like filler issue that doesn't have anything to do with what just happened. But reading it as like part of a collected volume, I was like, oh, this is a nice break.
Yes. Also, I want to say, just because he's Dream's friend, he already has a death flag hanging over him for me, because he's probably his first and only friend, and that immediately means he's a target.
Oh, luckily he's immortal, so all good.
Well, like it seemed like this Robert
Or
dude,
Robert Gadling.
Gadling.
Or sorry, Hob. I think he calls himself Hob mostly. Hob Gadling.
Oh, right. He starts out with being Hob. He won't die until he invites death. And it's just it's so interesting because like when we were talking before we started this episode, just like his attitude, Hobbs' attitude towards death is just it's everybody is doing it. That's why everybody dies. Like I refuse to conform and therefore I won't die.
And he doesn't.
No. But it's a like an agreement between Dream and Death, right? That Death won't claim Hobbs until Dream is either like had enough or something else happens.
I just wanted to say I only will believe that when the series is over and he is alive.
I don't think that Dream would ever admit that he's fed up with Hob Gadling. Right? Like Hob has the audacity to say that Dream maybe wants a friend, and then Dream just storms off for 100 years.
Right.
And then he comes back and says, yes, we are friends.
We are friends, yeah.
Well, it's interesting because so the in the first page of this issue, right, the woman that is talking to Dream, she is Death, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And what she says is, I just think maybe it would be good for you to see them on their terms instead of yours. And to me, that just implies like, okay, Dream is like his personality and perspective on humans is X at the beginning. And then through this like meeting every 100 years with Hobbs, Robert, he has this change. And Death wanted him to basically like be more informed and I don't know. I'm not exactly sure like what she hoped to accomplish, but something about changing him.
Being a good older sister.
Yeah.
Yes. I also just like her smug smile in that one panel. Like she knows
Oh yeah,
she's
yeah.
better.
I just love all of Dream's costumes through the centuries.
Yeah.
Oh yes, they're great.
All his different hairstyles too.
The one where he looks like a
Oh, yeah.
pirate is great.
I like the one where he has like the really long straight hair. He looks very
Yeah.
proto emo. On that note, the thing I really love about this issue is when people tend to think of the medieval period, and certainly I fall into this. It's really easy to just think of it as like one big glob where nothing really changed for like 1,000 years. Right? Like that's the stereotypical perception of it. But through this issue, we see like a lot of things change. Like an easy one is when people are in the second period, I think 1491. They start talking about like chimneys and how like, oh, back in the old days we didn't have chimneys and we would just let smoke fill the room and it would be good for people's health.
Right.
I was like, that's terrible. What are you talking about? I remember this. It was horrible. No one could breathe. And also we have napkins now. And then also, yeah, we just get like the big historical events that are happening, like the French Revolution. Oh man, I love to see the French Revolution referenced. That's gonna come back, by the way. Yeah.
Also, just like it's kind of incredible how this inn tavern thing has just survived in its different forms throughout the ages.
Mhm.
Like I would have expected to just be burned to the ground at one point.
Yeah, it's not like terribly uncommon for this to happen in certain places in Europe, but yeah, still it's so weird for me to think about because like I live in Canada, nothing here is old at all. Like the first buildings, like the oldest building I visited in Canada was like a fort on Halifax. And that's like
Oh,
200 years old, and that's nothing, right? That's
right.
nothing at all compared to some of the buildings you can see in Europe.
Yeah. Well, and then seeing the iteration at the very end where it's like a modern, it's like a food court type thing in a mall or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's that lady, I don't remember her name. I don't even know if we got her name.
Joanna Constantine?
Oh, wait, yeah, it is her.
Yeah. Sure is. And Dream later says that he contracted her to do something for him, and it worked out well.
So she's the like ancestor of John Constantine.
Yep.
I see.
Yeah.
Oh,
And Hob Gadling mentions that he knew her ancestor, and he was just as meddly as she was.
Mm,
Yeah. And also, Joanna Constantine is also haunted by ghosts. So,
right. Okay.
so many connections.
Yeah. My favorite part of this issue, though, is after Hobbs' bad century, and he's talking about like his wife died giving birth to his son, and he lost everything, and he hasn't enjoyed 1 second of the last 100 years. And Morpheus is like, okay, so you want to die then? And he's like, no. What are you
There's
talking
still
about?
so much to
There's
live for.
so much to live for. And man, props to Hob. He's a real trooper.
Yeah.
He lived a significant portion of the century just not eating.
Right.
Saying
Right.
how hungry you don't have no idea how hungry you can get if you don't die.
Honestly, even if he had almost no reason to live, I at least think one of the reasons to live for him would be just to spite Dream.
To spite Dream.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that little nugget of like, oh yeah, I joined this dude to work this printing press.
Oh, it's never gonna work out.
Yeah. It'll be short lived, but you don't need to be in a guild.
And he also the less good thing that he starts up is the slave trade. Well, he doesn't start.
Right.
He participates in it. He later regrets it. So, well, good on him for changing it.
It is interesting where it's like Dream telling him like, no, it's not okay for humans to own other humans.
Yeah, and this is like the thing that like Dream doesn't seem to have like a very strong moral code at the best of times. It does make sense to me that he would think this, right? Like everyone's free in their dreams. We also see fun new character, Will Shaxbard. So what do you guys think of that?
I found it so funny that he was the one who helped him.
Everybody is like, Christopher Marlowe, Faustus. That's so good. And then, like, why did Dream choose William?
Yeah, this mediocre playwright.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he said, I want to write stories that will live long in men's dreams after I die. I don't remember.
Oh,
But that's what he said. And then Dream's like ears perked up and he just like swiveled 180 degrees. Like, what?
Let's chat.
Hello, sir. Let's make a deal. And we'll get to see the consequences of that deal later. And
yeah.
it's good. It's good stuff.
The play that they reference is with Henry VIII, the one about the bad revolting stars or whatever. What was it?
I don't remember. They reference King Lear later on, and Hobbes says the fools have given it a happy ending.
Oh yeah. He does say that.
And then Dream says stories always revert to their original forms.
Right.
But Shakespeare didn't come up with a story for King Lear, right? Like he famously stole the plots of most of his plays. And I think it has a happy ending in the original.
Henry VI is what they were quoting. It's my first play, and it should be your last.
It's horrible. What are you doing?
Anyway, okay.
Yeah, so in the original, in the account by Geoffrey of Monmouth, Cordelia restores Lear to the throne and succeeds him as ruler after his death. During the 17th century, Shakespeare's tragic ending was much criticized. Alternative versions were written by Nahum Tate. There you go. It's an interesting little quote by Dream then. Any other comments on this one?
I think this was my favorite issue in the whole volume.
Yep, same.
Definitely a fun aside to everything else that was happening.
Yeah. It wasn't as like depressing and gruesome and cringy.
Yeah, Hobgatling isn't a serial killer. He's just kind of a nice dude you want to hang out with. Just a last fun note. The complaints that the patrons in the bar have are the same every time.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a new tax. Oh, the welfare state is ruining our country.
I was like, didn't I read this already before?
You sure did. Okay.
All right, moving on to the next one.
Collectors, issue 14. We get a good look at a serial killer convention, which mostly seems to be a game of pun-upmanship. Morpheus is summoned by Rose and promptly sends everyone home in disgust, presumably for the puns. I don't think there's another implication that could be there, right?
Get it? It's a serial convention.
Yeah. And like all of them are making murder-related puns, I think.
Yeah.
Panda, you seem to have a strong reaction to this going in. What's that about?
I love puns, but I hate serial killers and I hate the like body kind of horror gore stuff. It's just they took something that I really enjoy and
just ruined it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
What a controversial opinion to hate serial killers.
I know.
I mean, true crime is like one of the biggest genres, right? So how much can people really hate serial killers if they're reading that?
I did take a murder class in college.
So you learned how to do it?
Sure.
With murder.
How to go with
No,
murder,
with Panda.
Yeah. No, I mean, you mostly just like read up on famous serial killers and like it's definitely a very squishy science where it's basically sociology and you're like, oh, here are common traits of serial killers, but here are exceptions.
Yep. Sociology famously like the squishiest of sciences. Nothing is really backed up by actual data that they can replicate.
There was a fairy tale story in this one, which I really like, but probably not for the reasons I should like it, because nothing bad, but it just reminded me of a short story I read some weeks ago by Tamsin Muir. I don't know. Maybe I just projected the short story on the fairy tale, but I just thought they had similar themes because it's a a very dark retelling of what's the English name?
Little Red Riding Hood.
Yes, of that fairy tale, and it reminded me a bit of like the stripping of innocence, like with her eating the human meat and the blood without her knowing. And in a funny way, it was the exact same plot beat in Tamsin Muir's short story, and it was used. The reader didn't know, the main character also didn't know, and in the end, it was used as a means to strip her of her innocence, of her childhood. That theme reflected just here, like the stripping of innocence and stripping of childhood, just reflected in this in this fairy tale also. Also with her laying off her clothes one after another.
So a fun fact. I took a history course on the French Revolution where we played the actual French Revolution. Highly recommend. But to get us in the mindset of the time, my history professor read us this story word for word.
Wait, really?
Yes, like literally. It was great. So this is a story that's contemporary to the French Revolution. Maybe before. Yeah. Because I noticed that. I was like, wow, cool. Pamela would love to hear this.
Well, why do you think Gilbert told her that story?
Yes, it's because it's bleak. Because I think he's just trying to tell her a story that like she'll find relatable at the time. And often when you're like in a dark place, like a happy story doesn't really help. So he told her a dark story instead, and maybe that helped a bit. Who knows?
Yeah, it seemed kind of weird because like normally you would be trying to be positive and say like everything's gonna be okay, you know, we're gonna find your brother, or we're gonna whatever, your brother is gonna recover, but instead he didn't say any of that. He just told her a story that does not have a happy ending.
And he's a good dream too. Like he's a happy dream.
Yeah.
And he's just kind of doing his best to like act out what a normal human being is like. So yeah, it's interesting. That's a good thing to point out.
I just thought he said in the end that they should remain on the rooms in the rooms. So I think maybe he tried to scare her to remain in the room with the story, like
Maybe.
that she doesn't do anything dumb.
Well, he says, because her reaction was like, Gilbert, that is horrible. And he's like, I'm afraid so. There are earlier versions that are even worse. Just like, okay, great response.
And then, do you hear the wind?
Listen to the wind.
Listen to the wind. Yeah.
I did find her a little annoying, Rose. Just a tad annoying. But then, like, she's under a lot of stress, so I get it.
I like her hair. She's not like the most interesting character. Like there's not really a lot to her. She's like, which isn't like saying she's a bad character. She's just not. She's a normal person, I think,
Yeah.
who reacts like a normal person would.
Well, okay, speaking of normal people, like the way that these serial killers are portrayed, I don't know. It seemed like Gaiman was trying to make them relatable. Like they also get stage fright, and they also talk about like these, they're just like here to learn and listen to panels about other people sharing their experiences in the profession. It's like a work conference, like it's just such a bizarre framing.
I'm betting he just went to Comic-Con and was like, "What if this was serial killers?" And that's just the entire thing he was thinking of here.
Oh man.
Because like, there's even like a women in serial killing panel.
Yeah.
And then also the panel where they're arguing about like their religious motivations, and one guy's
Right.
like, is like a complete misanthrope, like humans are scum and I'm wiping them from the face of the earth. And the other guy's like, I disassociate from this man. I'm on a holy quest.
And then there's like a panel about like, should you make money off of
Off of serial
like
killing.
Monetization and serial killing. I don't know if that was actually it.
something like that.
And Funland, I think it's heavily implied that he kills people at Disneyland, and Disneyland just covers it up because they don't want people to feel unsafe at the park. And like, I can 100% see Disneyland doing that.
Oh, Funland was terrible.
Funland was terrible.
Can we just say all the serial killers are terrible? Just blanket statement.
I mean, yes.
There's one that's like, I came to the serial killer convention to find people who are like me and who can help me like control my messed up urges.
Oh yeah.
And then he's sad when Funland leaves him to go kill Rose. So like, I guess he's like a half step above the rest of them, but he still just kills women. So
yeah, the way that it was, the description of what he felt and his evolution from, killing. I'm assuming he meant like kitties.
yes,
Right. Okay.
The word has had a change in connotations.
Yeah, going from that to like strangling and dismembering actual women because of his urges. It's just very vivid. No, thank you. And then there was that one dude, the bogeyman, who was like an impersonator, I guess.
Talk about that. What does it take to like get like to be the outsider at a serial killer convention?
I also thought how dumb can one be, and then also expect to get through with it with a lot of clever people who got away from the police, and then think, oh, I'm just a dumb little human who goes in there and think, oh, I can safely go out there again.
Well, and it's like this guy just desperately wants to be one of them. And this group of people are just like, no.
But you make a good victim, they said.
And the panel where the Corinthians like we're gonna take turns, that's the spookiest panel in this.
That was, oh,
That's
yeah, chills.
it's horrifying.
It was horrifying, but it was also kind of, in a weird sense, kind of funny to me.
Comedic?
Yes.
And I do like the bit that Morpheus has at the end where he's like, all right, you guys think you tell yourselves stories where you're victims, and the Corinthian has this big speech where he's like, we're the gladiators, we're the entrepreneurs, and we're, and Morpheus is just like, no, this isn't any of it. You're kind of just pathetic losers who kill people, and it's not great, and I'm going to just strip the delusions away from you, and you're just going to live your lives, and we'll see what happens.
Right.
Oh, but what for me the most horrifying panel was the one where the one guy talked about killing trans people. That I thought was the most horrifying panel for me.
Yeah, he referred to them as pre-operative transsexuals, and that he killed them because they had like a specific kind of vulnerability that he was exploiting. And yeah, that's it's horrible.
Mhm.
The way that Funland was describing, like, all he wants to do is to play with children. Ugh!
How old do you think that girl is? 18, maybe 16, maybe 17? I think she's younger, much younger.
Ugh.
Hate it.
I just wanted to strangle him.
I just noticed he also has the big bad wolf on his shirt.
Oh, does he?
Mm,
Oh,
yeah,
funny.
he does. And is it his hair, or is he wearing like a hat that has ears on it?
I think he's wearing what's like a shade off of the Mickey Mouse hat.
Legally distinct.
Yes,
mouse ears.
exactly. We are similar
see.
to, but legally distinct from.
Yeah.
I see. I definitely did not catch the Disney implication.
He says that "It's a Small World" is such a great song.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Okay. Yep.
It's a place where people go to have fun, lots of fun.
I should say I love Dream's sense of justice. Like he doesn't kill these people. He doesn't like directly punish them. He just kind of wakes them up, if you will.
Yeah.
It reminds me a lot of what he did with John in the last volume.
Mm-hmm.
But also because what's his name again? Funtime?
Funland.
Funland. Yeah, I just Five Nights at Freddy was Funtime. Funland. His dream was also kind of disturbing. I thought, like with all the kids being nice to him and like, yeah, we forgive you for killing us. We love you. I just thought that was.
My last note for this is I was always confused by the Corinthian. I didn't understand why he was designed the way he was. This time, when Morpheus tells him he used a black mirror made to reflect everything about itself that humanity will not confront, his little teeth eyes. So eyes are the windows to the soul, right? But teeth eyes are devouring instead. Wow! And then he has reflective mirrors for sunglasses. So
Oh.
look at that.
Nice. Nice. All right, next issue.
Next issue. Into the Night. Issue number 15. Rose manifests her power as a vortex and begins to break down the barriers between dreams. Morpheus pulls her aside for a quick chat and maybe murder.
I really like Barbie's dream.
Oh, with Martin Tenbones?
I just thought it reminded me so much of Narnia. And it's like, but also I can't say either Zelda or Barbie. I love both of their dreams
Ugh.
and how it was depicted.
I'm a Ken man myself. When I dream, it's all about money and power. It's like big blocky letters.
Oh yeah, I totally see that. No. Chantel's was so bizarre. Like all of their dreams are bizarre, but like hers was like she has a relationship with a sentence.
And later it's exposited that she's trying to reveal nothing of herself to herself.
Right.
Yeah. So she also has the recursive dream where a man's telling her story, and this is the story he told. A man was telling a story, and this is the story he told.
But I also found it interesting how different she looks in that dream. Like with Zelda, She's kind of Alice in Wonderland like,
Hmm.
but and it kind of fits with her aesthetic out of the dream. But Chantal is completely different in her dream. Like she's a lot less a creepy woman and a lot more girl boss.
Mhm.
To say.
Yeah, she's gonna read a sentence into the Library of Congress.
I don't know. Dream went over my head. I'm just like, I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't think these dreams are like very deep. I don't think there's like this super deep symbolism here. I think a lot of it is just like Neil Gaiman trying to show how unique they are relative to each
Mhm.
other. Like Ken and Barbie, when they're presented, it's like, oh, they're Ken and Barbie. They're the most boring people on earth, and Ken kind of is, but Barbie all like she does seem to have a rich inner life, and then so on and so forth for the rest.
And later we learn she also lives that out then after she gets away from
Mhm.
comeback.
Yeah, it seems like Ken was probably abusive to her.
I like the description of like Rose seeing all these dreams, and it's just like, oh, the wall between them, it's just so fragile.
Mhm.
And she was able to just push through.
Mhm.
And I guess the other thing is the way that I saw it was that panel where it's like all the different people's dreams and with the white outline for the walls separating them.
Mhm.
It kind of made me think about the doll's house in Unity's room and how like each of them are just like a different room in that doll's house, and you could easily just like you as a the reader on the outside could like play with them, manipulate them.
That makes absolute sense.
No, but also I also really loved Hal's dream. I'm also amazed how much Neil Gaiman just got in without them saying no
Hmm.
as the publishers.
I mean, this whole with like desire being androgynous and like for the endless gender is pretty fluid. It just overall, I think it's like part of it is just this is fantasy. It's fictional. It's not. It's obviously not real. So.
Mm.
Yeah, I think Death is always female in this,
Mm.
but I'm not. I could be wrong there. But at least in the first issue, she was referred to as Grandmother Death.
That's true.
She always seems to have a maternal, which I think is cool.
So I wonder what like Matthew did in his life where he's like, I wasn't that great. Yeah.
You want to know that? Read Swamp Thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I learned recently that he's a character from Swamp Thing.
Ah, okay.
Ooh.
And then did any of you, like as we're moving into the last issue, did any of you guess who Gilbert was before it was revealed?
No,
No.
no.
At first I thought he was like, oh, maybe Gilbert is actually like Hobbs, Robert guy, but that was quickly like,
Oh, Hobgadling that's put on like 30 pounds, 80
yeah,
pounds.
yeah, but that obviously didn't pan out. So
No, Hob keeps himself fit. He'd be wearing a fedora or a green suit.
Life is long. You got to try new things.
Yeah, I guess.
the green should have given it away.
Yeah, or like it in hindsight, it's like right in front of you.
Yeah.
Morpheus is like, well, there's 4 dreams that have escaped, and one of them is Fiddler's Green. Oh, he's such a defendable fellow. I don't understand why he would leave.
He's so loyal.
He's so loyal. And then like later on, he just keeps bringing up Fiddler's Green. He's like, oh, where could Fiddler's Green be? Could this be Fiddler's Green? No, that doesn't make sense for Fiddler's Green. He's too nice. Issue number 16.
Yes.
Lost Hearts, issue number 16. Unity takes Rose's place as the Vortex. Morpheus chastises Desire for her attempt to destroy reality. Worth noting that Desire immediately just forgets about that.
No, I really, really like this conclusion to the story with, or better said, with the arc, with Unity taking the place of a granddaughter.
Yeah, it like fits perfectly, right?
Mhm.
And poor Unity, she's had like a real bad life, but I guess she was happy enough to sacrifice herself here. So, good for Unity. I would have been sad if Rose died.
Mm.
But like, it's a physical death, not a
Spiritual
like
death. Not...
complete death. Yeah.
I think it's unclear what happens to Unity here. Yeah, like there are options. Like Dream could have made her part of his realm, or maybe she's just taken away by death. Who knows?
Well, Dream says, "Let me help you up," and he kind of, to me, I feel like he lets her stay in the world of dreaming because, like, that was an option that he provided Rose. Like if he, when he thought he had to kill her, and I think it's kind of fitting since like Unity spent most of her life in the world of dreaming anyway. Or at least she spent most of her life sleeping, and now she gets to spend the rest of eternity or whatever in the world of dreaming.
What's even the dream to her? Is it the time she spent awake, or the I don't know.
Yeah.
No, but in the aftermath, I was also really surprised that Rose was connected
Judy.
to yes, to her. Like I did not see that coming.
Yeah. Yeah, tying it back to the first volume.
Connections everywhere.
Yeah. And it does seem like to conclude her story, but at the same time I want more of Rose kind of. Mainly because she knows that this is connected to Jodie. Yeah.
Everything's kind of connected. It kind of makes the world feel smaller.
Do you think so? Like, there was this whole talk about how, oh, sometimes happy endings are kind of just tacked on to the end of stories. Do you feel like that's what happened here with Rose? Like with her and her brother, he's like, I have a fox den to show you. And, with her change of, like, I guess coming out of her gloom and depression or something, and then going back out into the real world.
Well, she herself wants to do that. Also, she tries to do that, to take it onto her own life, to forget everything before that. So yes, I think that kind of happened.
I think it happened, but I think it's also Gaiman was probably deliberately poking a bit of fun at it. And of course, she cuts her hair and dyes it. I think marks the next step in every young girl's life, right?
Well, it's kind of like she's grown up a bit now.
Yeah, I preferred her old hair.
Yeah.
It was really cool. It must have been very difficult to get.
Yeah.
The rainbow hair was neat.
And then the last scene where Desire, like Morpheus has this whole chat with Desire, and Desire's like, yeah, nah, I'm in control.
Desire is a bastard. Seed for later. They think to themselves, if I thought otherwise, I would crack like delirium, or I would abandon my realm like our lost brother.
Yeah, who's the lost brother?
Who's the lost brother? So all of the Endless have names that start with D. So
How many Endless are there?
there is 7, I think. There's
Okay.
Well, I would guess it's Despair because
No, but we saw Despair
we saw
earlier.
Despair. Despair is a woman.
And it's a twin of Desire.
Yeah.
yes, in the beginning, not in the beginning we saw her.
Yeah, like earlier
Mhm.
in this volume.
Okay.
Yeah, and she had a fishhook, and she dragged it across her. And Despair kind of is like a fishhook. That was a neat. That was very fitting token.
I think Destiny is the only one we haven't seen so far. Well, Delirium, we haven't actually seen Delirium, but
Yeah, we haven't seen Delirium. We haven't seen Destiny. We haven't seen the Lost Brother. And we've seen everyone
okay,
else.
so then those 3, and then Death, Dream, Despair, and Desire. Okay, that would make 7.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Lost Brother has not been named yet.
No, they refuse to name him. In fact, but just think about what kind of aspect of human experience there might be that's not covered by any of these.
Is depression too close to despair?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Having a good time.
Happiness. That's what's missing.
How does it start with? It has to start with D though.
So I will say also, Delirium. Desire says Delirium cracked. Delirium used to have a different name.
Oh.
That's not nice. That does makes it harder.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Despair, Death, Dream, Destiny, Delirium, and Desire. Oh, I forgot the most important one.
Yeah, Desire is the most important one for you.
Well, no, but I mean in the story now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That would be an interesting question. Who of the endless is the most important to us?
We can ask that at like the end of the series or something like that. Once we know all the end.
Yeah.
Okay. Hobgaddling is, along with The Sound of Wings, one of my favorite stories, but I've seen some criticism. Do you think having an immoral character who loves life like Hob is boring, or is the lack of the normal ennui a valid option? Relatedly, do you agree with Dream that his sister provides a gift? Personally, I think this shows that Dream has potentially underestimated mortals. And this question is from SunGamer101.
I think we all said that we'd like Hop, and I would say that Hop is more of an interesting character than we normally see. Like most often, we see characters who, when they are immortal, they get over time depressed and want to die. And this is kind of the flip side of that. And I like that we saw that. And the other thing, what was it again?
Do you agree with Dream that his sister provides a gift? So, do you agree that death is a gift?
I don't know. Also, it's hard to say because I think that's a question that's different for everyone else. I think for me personally, it's not a gift, but I can imagine for others it is. Yeah.
So yeah, I think Hob is a super interesting character. Although I do love my depressed emo boys and girls quite a lot. It is nice having characters like Hob, who is kind of like indomitable, as far as we can tell. It's very common for humans to feel despair, but he doesn't really seem to feel it, or at least he doesn't let it get him down very much. Like he never thinks that life isn't worth living, and yeah, like that kind of relentless hope is refreshing, and I think it brings a nice element to the story. Do I agree that death can be a gift? I think existence unending sounds horrible. So yeah, it's I think the concept of dying is nice, but human lives may be a bit short and fragile.
I think like death as a choice, like you get to choose whether you die and like when you die. That would be a gift, but I don't think death itself is a gift for me.
Death is one of those things we're all kind of glad it's there, but as long as it's there and not here.
That's a good point. That's a good way of putting it. Okay, Kiptan asks, if you had to create the Endless, which divisions would you make? It's like an impossibly broad question, right?
I would say this is probably a good one for later in the series.
You think
Maybe.
so? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll field a couple of forays. Like curiosity, I think is like for the human experience, absolutely fundamental. Cooperation, also absolutely fundamental. Humans are social creatures, and we wouldn't be where we were if we weren't curious and cooperative. And like add something in there about the sublime and the capacity to appreciate beauty.
But it also has to be a C word because you're going with the C's.
I know. See, this is the problem. This is why this is an impossible question, besides the obvious existential nature of it. So, yes, maybe I'll spend 18 days compiling a list, and I'll reveal it one episode.
Yeah, I need more time to to think this through for myself.
Yeah. Anderson, Starcast, do you have any thoughts on this?
Maybe with my 18 days to look up words, that sort of
Just spend that time with a thesaurus.
I don't really have an opinion right now, or I don't have any idea right now.
Excellent. Kip, we will answer this question later.
We will do our research and get back to you.
Okay, so we also have a reoccurring question. Kip asks, what do you think of the domains of the Endless? So the one that we saw here was Desire. And Desire was just a big version of itself. And Desire lives in the heart of Desire. Yep. I wonder if there's a tiny little Desire living in Desire's own heart. And
That can get very quickly to
just infinitely recursive.
Compared to like the dreams area and even like hell we saw last day, it seemed kind of hell. There's just one big statue.
Yep. All it cares about is itself.
It was not that interesting.
I think it's like fitting, but yes, super boring, right? Like I think there perhaps could have been a better way to carry across this metaphor, but maybe not. I don't know. I agree. This is the boring one. Boo! I would way rather live in the dream world.
Yeah.
Okay. Final thoughts on this volume. Did you guys like it?
Yeah, I liked it a lot more than the last one, I would say. Yes, I would say it's a big step up from the first one. My problem with the first one was that it felt, I don't want to say it in a negative way, but it's just not my taste, but it felt very superhero-like, and I'm not the biggest fan of superhero stories, so yeah.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely a valid criticism, and I think Neil Gaiman himself would probably agree with that.
Overall, I mean, I liked parts of this, and then the other parts I'm just like lukewarm on. But what I do like is I just want to continue to see where Dream goes.
And fun stories like Hobgadling.
Exactly.
Yeah, like the Mr. Anderson, you can go and then I'll give my thoughts on that.
It's kind of I kind of like the first volume more. This was still good. It just sometimes it felt like they're trying to like one up themselves in terms of shock value, particularly with the serial killers and Jed, and I don't know, it felt more like grotesque for grotesqueness' sake than having a lot to do with what was going on. But it was still good. There were a lot of things to like about it.
Yeah, I definitely have my problem with this is that I don't find the ordinary people characters interesting at all. I would like he
That's also kind of true.
I love it when he sets these things in like interesting historical periods, right? Like I love the Hobgadling thing. You can see all these cool, funky characters going in and out and like cool concepts. And I love that. It's great. Neil Gaiman has he has a really great voice when it comes to that. But he also likes having boring people in his stories. And that's by far my biggest problem with Sandman in general. Like whenever there's stories like this, I don't hate all of them. Like there's stuff that I do find to appreciate, but the modern life thing generally just is not.
Okay.
People go away. Do it to normal. It's endless as no friend. And they can kill me at any time, but they're at least interesting.
And then like super quick thoughts on the section of the show the parts of the show that cover this. Wow, I think it's a big step down from the comics.
Oh, really?
I think the show is way too indulgent with the ideas there. All of my criticisms with the first part of the season just mirrored into the second half and then made worse because I don't like some of the character decisions they make. Like the most superficial one that I just hate with a visceral passion is they make Zelda and Chantal like really like chatty and bubbly and kind of like this.
Oh, interesting.
And that's not how that's not how you envision that at all, right? You think of them just like the kind of Aubrey Plaza morose,
Yeah, that's how I would
at least.
expect. Okay, I haven't gotten there in the show, so it'll be interesting to see that. Huh.
Isn't that the charm of them that they're more reserved? Like
I thought so.
Isn't that what makes them interesting?
Yeah, right. It's bizarre, and I don't get it at all. And oh well, that's Neil Gaiman has given the stamp approval of the show so maybe that was like his original intention. I don't know.
So maybe we need to try to get Gaiman on the podcast and ask him
Explain
what
himself.
happened. I'm just kidding.
He explains himself a lot on Twitter. So maybe you can.
Yeah, but that doesn't count anymore. So come on the green team.
Yeah. Listen, I'm happy that I'm absolutely thrilled that he made a show that he's very happy with, and a lot of people like it a lot. And I don't think it's a bad show. It's just, oh man, that part was not great for me.
Huh. Okay.
Okay. Closing statements. Like 2 minutes left.
Can't wait to see what happens next.
Same.
Great. Yeah, the next few issues I think are really interesting, and yeah, we'll get to them when we get to them, but it'll be cool to see your thoughts. All right, that concludes this episode of the Green Team Legendarium Sandman series. Thanks for listening, and thank you to our panelists, Befuddled Panda.
Bye.
Starcast.
Bye.
And Mr. Anderson.
Bye.
I'm Ashaman. Until next time.